Hi guys, my name is Minhaj Ansari and you're watching the 37th tutorial on C programming, and today I'll be talking about variable scope. So first of all, I'm going to define my integer variable num outside of my main function, and I'm going to initialize it to the value 5. And I'm going to print the value of the integer variable num inside of my main function. And I'm also going to create another function called print value. And I'm also going to print the value of the variable num inside the body of my print value function. And in the end, I will be calling my print value function inside of my main function. So when I run the program, I will get two 5s displayed in the output screen. One 5 is displayed by this printf statement and one 5 is displayed by the print value function. So now I'm going to make a small change in this program. I'm going to copy the definition of the variable from here and I'm going to paste it inside of my main function. So now when I try to run the program, the compiler will give me an error. This is because the integer variable num is now local to the main function. So that means only the main function can access the value of the variable num. So it is a local variable and it is local to the main function, and any other function outside of the main function cannot access the value of the variable num. So if I remove this function from here, and if I removed its call from here as well, so now when I try to run the program will run perfectly fine. Similarly, if I made the variable num local to the print value function, so now the value of the variable num could be accessed by the printf statement inside the print value function, but the value of the variable num cannot be accessed by the printf statement inside the main function, because this variable num is now a local variable and it is local to the print value function. So now let's go back to my first scenario in which I defined my integer variable outside all functions. So let me call my print value function here again, value. So now the value of the variable num can be accessed by the print value function and the main function. This is because the variable num is now a global variable. So when you define a integer variable outside all functions, then it becomes a global variable and it can be accessed by any function in your program. But if you define your variable inside a function, then that variable becomes a local variable and that variable can only be accessed in the function in which you have defined it. So this is the basic idea, and this is the difference between a local and global variable. Similarly, local variable can also exist in for loops, while loops, do-while loops, if conditions, switch statements. So let me take an example of a for loop. So for int I is equal to 0, I is lesser than 10, I plus plus, and I'm simply going to print the value of the loop variable I inside the body of my for loop. And in the end, I'm going to print the final value of the loop variable I. So now when I try to run the program, I'm going to, let me just first remove the print value call from here. So when I try to run the program, I'm going to get an error. This is because the variable I, it is local to the for loop. That means the printf statement inside my main function cannot access the value of the variable I. It does not know the definition of the variable I. But if I define my variable I outside of my for loop but inside my main function, so now this variable I will become a local variable, and if you have defined a variable to be local to a function, so no matter how many loops or how many if conditions or how many switch statements you include inside that function, the loops and if condition and switch statements will be able to access the local variable. So in this case, the for loop can easily access the local variable, it can print the value of the local variable, and the printf statement can also access the local variable. So when I run the program, I'm going to get the value of I printed in the output screen. And the value of I printed by the for loop is from 0 to 9, and the for loop terminated when I became 10 because the condition became false, and the final printf statement printed the final value of the variable I. So, this is all it about variable scope. And in my next tutorial, I will be talking about memory management. I'm going to be talking about stacks and heaps and how local and global variables are actually maintained inside your memory. So thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section. And sorry, one more thing before I end this tutorial. Let me just write my print value function right here. And no, how about, wait, I got a better idea. I'm simply going to define my integer value I outside of my main function. Now this is going to be a global variable, and I'm going to make its value equal to 9999 and 9, a very large value. And now I'm also going to define a local variable I with the same name, and I'm going to initialize it to the value 0. So now when I call the printf statement, it will print the value of the local variable I. So when I run the program, it will print 0 in the output screen. Even though both variables have the same name, but when you have a local variable and global variable of the same name, the local variable has higher priority. That means when I try to print the value of the variable I, it will print the value of the local variable I, which is 0, and not of the global variable I, which is 999. But if I remove this statement from here, so now it will print the value of the global variable, which is 999. So this is all it about variable scope. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section, and thanks for watching this video.